Hello and welcome to AdAge's custom webcast sponsored by Celtra. The topic today is best kept creative automation secrets from the world's top brands. I'm John Dioso, editor of AdAge Studio 30. Now let's get started. Frankie Morgan is the senior customer success director for enterprise at Celtra and has been working in the ad tech industry for over 10 years. Her experience spans operations, customer success, and business development at some of the world's most prominent publishers and technology companies. These days, she develops strategies and frameworks for global enterprise brands, ensuring they can achieve their business objectives with creative automation. Well, thank you for being here, Frankie.
What a wonderful introduction.
Take it away. It's all yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for stopping by today. As John so kindly introduced, my name is Frankie, and I've been working at Celtra for the past 8 years, actually. And I've been helping brands and their agencies transform the way that they, manage digital production. And I've been doing that by helping them implement creative automation solutions through a series of best practices, change management processes, and workflow optimizations. I'm excited to share some of those insights and best practices with you today. And I hope that there are some key takeaways that you can explore as you, think about creative automation for your own organization or just for your own benefit for learning. Some of you may be familiar with Celtra, some of you may not. So just for the purpose of level setting, I'd like to just introduce what Celtra is and our creative automation solution. Celtra is a company that has a cloud-based software for creative automation. And the purpose of that technology is to help brands and their agency partners to accelerate their campaigns with omnichannel production and managing that at scale. Some of the brands that are using Celtra today are listed at the bottom, and these are, probably brands that you're all familiar with. And the reasons that they choose Celtra is because they need a way to manage their premium advertising content and produce that at scale. They're looking for ways to reduce costs and optimize workflows, but they also need a cloud-based collaborative tool to manage the entire digital production throughout the funnel. So considering, formats such as static ad formats, video, but also those product catalogs that are so often used within social marketing campaigns, all can be handled within the cloud-based creative automation software. So let's talk about how it works. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of how Celtra's solution works so that when we go into some of these best practices, it will resonate well with you. So first, it starts with designing a template that is robust enough to ingest different types of content. So you want to design your template with different areas for your logo, for your copy, and for your product placement. And having a modular mindset, which is a bit of a shift, when you're designing for scale, is you have to think about how this creative will change and iterate over time. Your templates within Celtra are designed to go on and have life beyond the initial design. You may hand this design off to a separate team or a separate agency to ingest different types of content. So by having a modular mindset and thinking about how you want to place your product, place your copy, and your logo will really help for the longevity of the creative's life. Step 2 is about designing and scaling your template by ingesting the different types of content. So here at this level, you can introduce different types of languages. You can swap in different products and visuals and then update your call to action. On the right-hand side, you can see a feed space. This is what Celtra calls a content feed. And this is where all of the automation happens as users can go in and update the copy, the visuals, etc. at scale. You can make this process even more efficient by tapping into Celtra's AI assistant and using the AI assistant to generate language translations or even just content ideas if you're looking to push the boundaries a little bit. So that's step 2. Step 3 is about moving into the review and approve space. So Celtra has a dedicated workspace for this type of work. So this is where you can review all of your creatives holistically. You can see how the creatives look side by side, play animations, leave comments for your designers or for your team, and annotate on the specific designs as well. So this really makes the review and approve process more efficient, and no longer need to take screenshots, upload them into PowerPoint, and share them with different members of your organization. We're really trying to improve the overall workflow process of the production here. Once your creatives are approved and ready to go, you can benefit from Celtra's integrations and distribute those creatives directly into some of the media platforms that Celtra has integrations with. This can be ad servers, this can be walled gardens, but this can be really helpful for trafficking teams that are managing large-scale campaigns, as it reduces the sort of manual error that can so often happen when you have lots of creatives to manage. And then the last step in this process is really about optimizing. So updating and optimizing your content is an infinite loop these days. No longer do creatives just stay out in the market and remain static. There's a ton of data out there that can allow you to improve your creative performance over time. And so Celtra helps you take those learnings, update them within creatives efficiently, and then automatically have them reflecting out in the market when you've used Celtra's integrations. So this is a great tool for, again, driving efficiency from, the production, learnings, and optimization loop. Now that we have looked at how it all works, we'll look at a few use cases for our clients and, help you to understand how they've approached creative automation and some of the success they're seeing. We'll start by how Nike has increased their efficiency while maintaining brand consistency across multiple markets. So the challenge that Nike faced, using one particular example, was for a Nike Members Day campaign. This campaign is purposely built to enhance the shopping experience for their most loyal customers. And so Nike had the challenge of, improving the overall shopping experience, but also producing and distributing enough content at scale in an efficient manner. The challenge that they had was maintaining the iconic brand ID that we're also familiar with across the different markets and different languages. And so they turned to Celtra to help them manage all of this. And through the implementation of creative automation and developing a toolkit, they were able to achieve a more efficient process that maintained this brand consistency. A toolkit within Celtra, just to, for awareness here, is essentially a collection of digital templates designed with different layouts, different ad experiences, different versions that can support the different channels on your media plan. And the purpose of them is that they can be handed off to a separate team or to a separate market so that they can begin adapting those creatives directly in the feed. You can see on the right-hand side here, we have a standard global template, and there are highlighted the different elements that can be changed within the template itself. So you can change the promotional dates, you can change the language of that, change the background color, and also swap out the image. And then at the bottom here, we can see the local executions that were adapted by the various markets. With that, Nike were able to produce over 17,000 creatives that were localized based on local market needs. And they saw a remarkable 19.5x efficiency gain throughout this process. So being able to go into the content feed and change the language and change the call to action in an efficient manner also meant that the local markets, yes, had, local relevant creative, but they were also able to get those creatives to market a lot faster. So removing that need of having to put in a request to a designer to change the design, they can be much more quicker and agile with their content updates. Next, we'll look at how InDrive shortened their campaign delivery time from 2 weeks to 3 to 5 days. Okay, so InDrive, being a global organization, needs to be able to produce a massive amount of content to attract new riders on the ground. And with this becomes an overwhelming amount of content needs or design needs for their design team. And being able to produce, a ton of variety with different promotional offers, different languages, different look and feel of the creatives is an overwhelming amount of work for the design team, who were historically doing this manually, so using manual design tools. And so InDrive were looking for a way to optimize their internal processes, improve the production efficiency, and also make those content updates a lot faster. And so they partnered with Celtra to improve the way that they were managing their campaigns. And as a result, they ended up delivering 2 different campaign types that allowed them to achieve their marketing goals. One campaign type was for always on, so the evergreen type of campaigns that they need to swap out content for, like regularly, sometimes daily, sometimes weekly. And then there were the special campaigns. You can think about the seasonal kind of promotional offers that require different layouts. For the always-on campaigns, InDrive designed over 40 static and animated templates, and you can see there at the top on the right-hand side. They have different, compositions, split screen with a device and just blank color, and then they were able to swap out the different variations, as I've mentioned before, within the content feed. And then for the special campaigns that required their own design outside of the always-on campaigns, designers would go in and build their bespoke design templates and then allow the automation to build out all of the necessary variants. This process meant that, InDrive were no longer needed to produce creatives manually. They were able to enhance the variation experience by using the automation. I think one of the key feedback that we often get from designers is that they appreciate no longer having to do the repetitive, mundane work, right? So no longer having to apply a call to action manually, copy pasting it across hundreds of different creatives. The automation can do all of that for them. And it frees up their time to focus on a bit more of the creative work that they are, best placed to do and often enjoy. The results of using automation and implementing it into their business was that InDrive were able to generate or produce over 18,000 creatives in under 1 week. So historically, when using a manual workflow, this took the team about 2 to 3 weeks. Now with automation, being able to produce, scale, review and approve, they were able to get these creatives out in under a week. And this led to, a 15 times greater efficiency gain when compared to manual workflows. The design team lead, Anastasia, was quoted that it would have been impossible to deliver this scale of campaign of 17,000 creatives without automation. So when you've got those large scale of campaigns, it's really important that, that you can implement technology to improve that overall process for the creative teams. I have another example to show you, another rideshare company. This one has a slightly different angle because for Lyft, although it's a similar sort of business, their actual reasons for using creative automation differs. For Lyft specifically, they saw that, being able to be more efficient in their creative production and producing more variety also had an impact on the campaign performance. So let's take a look into how they did that specifically and what the key levers were. So Lyft, again, as a company that needs to, produce content in various different markets, it's really important that they can continuously, engage and remain front of mind to those potential riders. And so they were looking at ways to incorporate more lifestyle video footage into their campaigns to not only capture, new audiences' attention, but also see if that improves the campaign performance. Including video into their campaigns or into their media plan at such a large scale was a new goal for the Lyft as a company, but also for the creative team. And at that time, they were a very lean team, like so often design teams are these days. They are very lean and have a large amount of content to produce. And so this kind of new goal kind of felt overwhelming for them at the time, trying to do this with traditional tools of, manual processes. And so they were looking for a way that they could, produce video content at scale, be able to change those offers, but also make sure that they were, impactful enough to capture users' attention. And so by working with Celtra, they were able to produce a ton of, on-brand unique video ads using Celtra's flexible design templates. The video ads were unique, so they had a different background video, but what changed on top was the different copy and the call to action. Celtra has a bunch of custom easing and animation presets that allows the designer to make sure that any copy and call to action is completely aligned with the video footage. So you can see some examples there on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side. By having this framework in place where you have a video and then, buttoned up copy and content in place, means that you can hand off this video, or Lyft were able to hand off this video to their growth team to make content changes. So the team needed to change a promotional offer, they could go into the content feed and make some changes in there. Celtra treats, any type of scaling, template and content the same, whether that's a static image or a video creative. And what this meant for Lyft was that their marketers no longer needed to put in a request to the design team, have it go through the backlog of, the design team requests and waiting for that content. It empowered them to make the changes themselves, giving them more creative variety to test and push out into market. As a result, they were able to produce much more scalable video ad content with more variety and a fraction of the cost. This particular campaign, Lyft were able to produce over 600 unique video ad experiences. This approach to producing templates and scaling with content relieved a lot of the pressure for the design team, similar to what we've seen within the other use cases, in that they were able to, have the automation handle a lot of the repetitive work or the creative or content update, should I say. This campaign also drove some great performance results, and the team saw a 45% reduction in their cost per acquisition fees. And as a result, we've seen that the Lyft team feel more confident in producing video content. As I said, they're treating it the same way as they would any other format within their media plan, and then are actively working on developing new concepts to incorporate into their future media plans. So that's the Lyft scenario and the use cases. We are at the end of these use cases, but we do have plenty of time for questions. Before I do that, though, before I hand over to the audience for Q&A, I just want to leave you with a little thought that, the demand for content is real. Consumers do expect campaigns and creatives to be relevant to them. Not too creepy, not too personalized, but they do want to see relevant content as they are browsing through the internet. And obviously, this puts pressure on marketing teams because they need to make sure that they are competitive in their market and that their content is fresh and remains top of mind. And so being able to, use technology and AI solutions really helps these kind of teams produce better forming creatives and do it in a much more agile manner. And that's it. I think we have plenty of time for questions. So I will hand over to John to, take it from there.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Frankie. But let's jump into it. Let's see. Palette. All right. First one, I think this is probably the thing that comes up most top of mind for people when they hear about automating. It's how do you maintain creative quality with an automated process? Now, you kind of touch on a lot of that, I think, in the presentation, but just to kind of, what is it? I'm sure that's the first thing you must hear from people. How would you answer that question?
Yeah, it's a great question. It really starts with the design. Celtra's tools are here to elevate the creative experience and not replace designers. So designers have the creative minds. They have the vision of what a creative should look like, and Celtra's tools just help them elevate that. But the platform also has specific features and functionality that allow you to lock specific elements of a creative as the creative is passed through different teams and agencies. So this is great for brand guardianship, being able to lock the logo so that can never be changed. Being able to set, safe spaces around the copy to make sure that there's always a certain distance between, the logo and the copy and the call to action, for example. So yeah, I think it's really about, making sure that the designer can bring their, their concept to life. But there's a designing that template, thinking about how it will go on to take on a life of its own, you could say, as setting the parameters around that. As I was saying, with, having a modular mindset, making sure that your images have like transparent backgrounds, adding the text directly in Celtra and not taking that as an image and applying it. All of those things will make it easier and flexible to scale your template as it goes on to be adapted by other teams.
All right, and here's another one. Let's see, what are the biggest challenges companies face when transitioning to an automated creative process?
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is another great question. I think for many organizations that we work with, as I was kind of alluding to in my previous comment, that there is certainly a need for more content, and often management recognize that we need to be producing more content. We need to be doing it faster. We need to be competitive. But sometimes the teams at the end, often marketing managers, aren't really feeling that pain because the designers are taking on all of that work and pressure. They're the ones staying up late, working at the weekends to produce that content to deliver to marketers. So I would say there is a change management approach that needs to happen, not just at the top, but throughout the organization. This is something that Celtra has lots of experience in, whether it's a global organization or a smaller creative agency. There's still the same level of change that the change journey, I would say, that these teams need to go on. And then there is the teams that recognize that there is a change and they are willing and up for it. But there is also this learning curve that we so often see. It's the same with anything that you're learning, whether it's a new technology, a new language, whatever it may be, starting a new job. There is this learning curve that you have to embark or you have to overcome, which can be challenging at times as you think about, shifting gears and changing your mindset about how to approach your work in your day-to-day, learning a new tool. But once you're over that curve, it becomes so much easier and the machine just starts working and operating. And that's where you really start to see the efficiencies, is once you've, overcome that learning curve. So yeah, I think, these challenges are, consistent, across different organizations. Some have them more larger than others. But once they are over that hump, they really start to see the value of the automation taking place and start to see those efficiencies.
And here's a really good one. What extent of template customization is available for designers?
Yeah, this is a great one. Celtra's tool, though we've used the language templates, they are really your custom template. So building a template in Celtra is a blank canvas, and you design that template as you see fit, based on your brand guidelines, based on the vision that you want to put out. And then there are specific features, as I was mentioning before. There are features such as like auto layout options. So once you've got your design in place and everything is kind of perfectly in order, you can scale that at a click of a button to different formats, right? So you can take it from static to animated and then start creating your different animations using custom presets that we have in place. You can take that design and scale it across different sizes at the click of a button. So take your 300 by 250 and make it into a 300 by 600. Again, just like making that overall, production experience more efficient and removing the need to like manually change everything. And then there are the space for the content feed, right? So that's what we have. That's the workspace. That's like a spreadsheet, you could say, that allows you to populate all of your content. But not just content, you can also include images. You can upload videos there. Anything that needs to change within the template can be handled within that feed. And a piece that is really powerful for teams because it unlocks, you could say, creative capabilities for non-designers, right? But they still are working within the parameters that the designer has set. So there are a bunch of tools and features available in Celtra that I would love to talk you through. If you're interested, we can send this to you. But it's really, this is a custom solution that you use to build out your own templates. There are no predefined templates within Celtra.
Well, that's great. Thank you for that question. The next one is AI, the AI bingo card. I'd love to learn more about the AI language assistant that was mentioned. How does it work? What can it
Yes.
do? And is it a model built internally or sourced from well-known models such as ChatGPT, et cetera?
Exactly. It's a well-known, it's sourced from ChatGPT. So we've integrated with ChatGPT to populate ideas directly into our platform. Celtra hasn't developed any proprietary AI solutions there because there are fantastic AI software already out there that we can plug in. We're very mindful, I think, as an organization about how we want to use AI within our within creative production. We look at this as a way to, in the same way that we approach automation, we want to improve the overall experience for designers or anybody using the tool, remove the mundane kind of repetitive work, and use AI to spark inspiration or speed up the production process. So at the moment, we are using it for content ideas, ChatGPT. We are using it for language translations. It can be great for giving you prompts if you've hit like a writer's block or you just kind of want to see what copy would look like, genuine copy without using lorem ipsum. We're using it for those kind of ideas. And I'm sure this is going to evolve even further over time. What we haven't really touched upon today is how Celtra is using AI to populate content insights. So predictability modeling and to help you inform like what is the best composition of a creative that will perform out in market and how AI will, populate some of those insights or predict some of those insights. But yeah, in a nutshell, when using public open sources.
Okay, great. Thanks for that answer. And similar to, I think, the design question, somebody's asking, do you have an option to try or test Celtra for a few users, or is there any collaborative option that's available with Celtra?
Yes. So Celtra is a SaaS solution, and like most SaaS solutions, is currently available on a subscription model. However, we do tailor those subscriptions based on a specific need. So I'm not sure who quite asked that question and what type of organization you work for, but if you are an agency, we have specific models that work best for agencies. If you are a brand that wants to try the solution, we can definitely discuss that. And then once there is more of a long-term commitment, that's when it goes into a subscription model.
Got it. And then when going back to the design question that you asked before, it was very interesting to me personally, because not being a designer, but being a writer and having that capability to be able to have that design oversight. So once they can customize the templates and actually have that type of design quality control, that other people on your team are able to use it and be able to almost have the same strength as a designer by using this type of tool. And how does that actually work? Is it just because it's built out of that, whether it's AI driving it, or, where does that quality come from?
Yeah. So within Celtra, you have specific, and I don't know if I can go back, assuming you can see slide 5, scale and adapt. Yep. Awesome. So essentially what we have here is a bunch of different formats, but this is all one template. And the content is changing based on the content feed that we see on the right-hand side, swapping in images, updating the copy. That is all reflected in the templates in real time. There's also a functionality or a feature that will come up in a second where you can tap on a text AI assistant and you can populate ideas. There you go, populate ideas based on the parameters that have been set here. So you can see it's looking at the previous column, looking at the language, and then it's populating the different variations based on the language in the previous column. Now, what you could do as a writer is you could have a subject heading that said, populate, funny ideas. And it would come up with a few funny copy ideas based on the first one that's the first row. So I think what we are trying to do here is accelerate, the content ideas or, help teams with writer's block, but it's not here to replace. It can never replace the ideas of a human, right? And the other thing that I think is important that the AI does is it would only give you certain ideas based on the number of design space that it can work within. It's not going to give you, 5 different sentences to try and fit within the creative. It's really intelligent in that sense that it would try and stay within the text box.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you again for sharing that. And the next question, in line with the resharing some ideas, somebody said I joined a bit late. Can you tell me more about how this tool looks like on the client side for review and approval process?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've taken a snapshot here of 3 different creative templates, but actually what you're seeing within those three different templates is how the UI looks. There's a bit of a browser heading at the top, which shows you, the environment that you're looking in. And then it has a bunch of filters on the right-hand side that can help you drill down to specific creatives. So, for example, I just want to look at my 300 by 250s, and I only want to look at my static versions for now. You can use those filters at the bottom to, on the left-hand side, should I say, to view those creatives specifically. It also has functionality that allows you to share that subset of creatives with your client or with another team to approve them, so they don't get overwhelmed by the thousands of versions that Celtra has helped you create, but they can be very direct and specific with the versions that you want them to see. This is also very quickly a open space, so you don't require a URL to log into Celtra or a seat, so to speak, but you will require a login. So we'll need to track everybody that's accessing this URL so that we can, make sure that they are permissioned or entitled to see the content that you have produced.
All right, great. The next question, I'm not quite sure what they're saying, but maybe you know more about this than I do. For Meta Facebook automation, where does the copy fit in above the actual creative units? Is that a different type of setup, or how does that? Okay.
Great question. So, being an automation solution that plugs into different channels, we have to be cognizant of the parameters of each platform. And so we try to mirror what is being, what you can set up in Meta versus what you can set up in Celtra. So things like your ad furniture, your copy, your description, there are certain presets within Celtra where you can populate that information, and then it is carried over when you push your creatives directly into Meta. There's a bunch of distribution efficiencies that we have available that we haven't really touched upon here today. But for those of you that are familiar with the Meta setup, it can often be a complicated one when you are pushing creators over and having to reassign placements. And Celtra does that automatically for you, so the designer has full control over that, so that when we push the creatives over, it still improves the overall process for the trafficking team as well.
All right, great. Thank you for answering that. Let's see. Gone through that.
Lovely questions.
Yes. How fast would you say teams are able to integrate creative automation? And is there a team to support them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say it really depends on the scale of the organization and where they want to implement creative automation. I've worked with some of the global CPGs of the world, and they often start off with like maybe one brand and one team, and then they scale up to multiple brands and multiple markets, etc. But I think, all of that aside, it really depends on a few characteristics. One is, yes, the scale of where you want to implement. Two is the readiness of that organization and their team. Like, do they have a team in place? Have they done creative automation before? Are they thinking about a modular mindset? Things like that. And then when it comes to actually implementing the technology, I mean, if you started building within Celtra on, the beginning of the month, we've seen teams get trained up and launch a campaign within 4 weeks. It depends on the scale. We would say to start small and like crawl, walk, run, but it can be done, as quickly as you need it to be done. And then in terms of like the implementation and the support, Celtra has a bunch of teams, and I'm supported by a bunch of teams that help us implement this successfully. We try to mirror the team setup that our clients so often have. So we have, customer success managers that work very closely with brand directors and marketers. We have a technical integration team that often work very closely with IT teams and trafficking teams to help them understand how to traffic media. We have a team of highly experienced solutions consultants that advise and give best practices for the designers on how to use the tool effectively. These teams are available, in abundance to support them. They're highly experienced with implementing creative automation. So, it's
all right. Great. Another question: are you able to load custom fonts?
Yes, absolutely. So Celtra has, if you were to use the platform today, there are a bunch of open fonts that are available for anybody to use, but you can upload your custom fonts. That's often one of the first steps that we get our clients to do during the initial implementation phase, is uploading your custom fonts, building out your boilerplate projects, and connecting your accounts so you can manage your distribution integrations.
Awesome. And if you have time for one more question, what kind of insights can creative automation provide to help brands optimize their ad performance?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the moment, you can look at things like, your overall production efficiency. So like, how are you being more efficient? Where is there room to improve? And we look at that based on the different workspaces within Celtra. So whether that is in the design space, whether that is in the content feed space or distribution, that's the overall production. But then also looking at once you push those creators out in market via one of the integrations, how are they performing back in Celtra? So we can see things like, when you used creative A that had, I don't know, let's say, for example, an animated creative that had this particular product shot, we can see that performed better than, let's say, the lifestyle image. And then we can show those insights directly in the platform so that you can make those changes. You might want to drop the product image and just have the lifestyle version, for example. And that's happening almost in real time. So when you're using the integrations, particularly with Meta at the moment, we can get those insights back and be able to show you which optimizations need to be made.
All right, great. Well, that's all the time we have. And on behalf of our guest, Frankie Morgan, thank you for attending AdAge's custom webcast sponsored by Celtra. I'm John Dios for AdAge Studio 30. See you next time. Bye, Frankie.
Bye.